Welcome to PNC Unfiltered, where we talk about politics in an unfiltered fashion. Today,
Oh
we're talking about Trump's executive orders on the border about immigration. Starting off, we're just going to list a couple of Trump's immigration border policies, okay? So, he declared a national emergency at the border, which, makes sense. The Remain in Mexico policy was reinstated, which was destroyed by Biden. And he also ended birthright citizenship pertaining to the 14th Amendment. So, individuals born in the U.S. to non-citizen parents are now no longer naturalized. So all those sound really good. And honestly, I think Trump is good rhetorically on the border. I think his policies sound good on their face. I have a couple of issues, though. And I think conservatives are missing the forest for the trees here. I think they're overly optimistic because of these executive orders that are good on their face. We have to remember a few things. Trump won the election in 2015 for the 2016 presidency, running specifically on building a border wall and mass deportations because illegals were taking jobs and lowering the wages for low skilled labor jobs. Okay, so he won running on immigration and getting the bad guys out of here. They're not sending their best, all that. This time around, Trump won the election running on border security. That's not the same thing as mass deportations. Okay, Tom Homan has talked about mass deportations, but since he's been in his position the last week or so, I haven't heard him say a word about mass deportations. Not only that, the first day that he was at his job, we had like 500 illegal immigrants deported. That's going to get us I think we have to wait until the next century to get all the illegals out of the country if that's the same rate we're going to go at. I know
Right.
it's going to pick up after the high priority targets are taken out. Again, they're going by a priority basis. That's my first issue. But I'm kind of worried that Trump actually isn't going to get all the illegal immigrants out of the country, which is what people voted on. The people that voted for him wanted all the illegal immigrants out of this country, regardless if they committed more crimes after they got into the country. And based at the current rate, we're not going to do that. And also, Trump deported less people than Obama in his last presidency. Obama deported 3.2 million people, and Trump in his first term deported about a million. So Obama was better on the border than Trump. Trump was just rhetorically better on the border.
Well, I guess he was rhetorically better in the sense that he was able to build a campaign from it. As far as the Tom Homan thing, I have seen a few clips of him talking to news stations about this sense, and I do think he is still very much focused on mass deportations. I can't remember exactly if he said the words. I was definitely given that sense that is still the ultimate goal.
Before he got into office, he said mass deportations are necessary. He hasn't said that
Yeah,
phrase since he's been in office.
I would have to go back and check the videos I watched, but I feel like he has. You could be right on that. There is a good chance at this rate. I have seen those stats that the 500 a day or so that they're rounding up so far and sending back home. I'll say this. Yeah, obviously at those numbers, no, we're not going to reach the 10 million, 15 million that came across illegally. But I don't think it's going to be from a lack of trying. So I think it's almost dishonest to try to blame Trump or Tom Homan for them not standing on their election promises if it's actually just not possible.
Okay. So if it's not possible, this is the crazy thing. You remember how much resistance Trump got in his first term on immigration and on really everything, but specifically immigration. They were like, "You're calling them all murderers and rapists? You're calling them all rapists? They're not. They're good guys. I know a guy named Juan down the street. He's a cool guy. He made me a taco last night. Whatever." Okay. He was getting a whole lot of pushback, way more than he's gotten recently on his border talk. And frankly, I think the bureaucratic elites don't even want this level of illegal immigrants. I think Biden was so incompetent. Even the people that hate America don't want that many illegal immigrants in the country. I think there's a reason why
Right.
Trump is getting less pushback now from his constituents in the political class and the oligarchs and the bureaucrats than he did the first time around. And that's because they know he can't completely fix the problem. He can just make it marginally better. And all they want is for it to be marginally better.
I have a theory that possibly, because you think about whenever Trump ran in 2016, okay, he ran on the border, this and that. And what was the left's counterpoint to that? What was the thing that took up most of the news stories in 2016 whenever he was running? It was that he's racist. That's why he wants to cut off the flow of immigration, all this stuff. He hates people of different nationalities. They just called him racist, like nonstop. We all remember it. Called him racist all day and night for, I mean, at this point, the better part of 10 years. I think they can't just abandon that at this point. They can't drop off and say, oh, well, actually, we need to fix up the border, this and that, and because that just gives value to what Trump's doing. And I could see it being the case that if they actually don't like it, like you're suggesting, whenever Trump gets out of office, and if they get somebody in there in 2030, is that whenever they'd be sworn in? 2028. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually did try to stop the immigration crisis at that point, because they don't have to keep their heels stuck into that point that the other side is racist. Because
right, if you want the country to not be destroyed in any regard at all, then you'll be against it because of the levels of illegal people that are in the country taking free benefits and taking jobs and lowering the income for all these other people in unskilled labor jobs. But think about it like this. Okay, you've seen the videos of Home Depot, Walmart emptied out. No one's there. Places near the border like Texas, Arizona, whatever. There's no one there. That's hilarious. Home Depot. No one's there. Yeah. But again, what if the numbers are 40 million? What if it's 50 million? What if there's 60 million illegal immigrants in the country right now? That means we would need to deport 4,000 a day. It's like 4,000 a day or something like that.
Something like 20% of the country. I mean, 60 million people.
I mean, it might be 15 to 20%. But again, it could be possible. I've heard people say that it's not economically feasible. It'll be an economic disaster to kick them out. Personally, I'm okay with an economic disaster to get illegals out of the country. I'm okay with an economic disaster to get criminals out of the country, like Trump said at his speech recently. That was a great idea.
I don't think it'd be a disaster either. I mean, I think it would be an investment, certainly. Like, it would take a lot of money to deport that many people, but it's better to fix the problem now and make that investment, because it's going to cost even more money. The real disaster would be down the road, 30, 40 years of them all being here, us spending money on Medicare for them, insurance, all these things, giving them Social Security and all these benefits. That's going to cost us more money in the long run than if we were to just deport them like we're supposed to, because they entered the country illegally. We just did that now. Even if it probably is going to be a big investment, probably even $1 trillion or more. I mean, it's
like, I love the executive orders. Like, honestly, the birthright citizenship thing is genius. Again, they misinterpreted the 14th Amendment to assume that if you were born in this country from an illegal, that you're naturalized. No, it was about slaves' children. It was literally giving slaves' children rights, or at least giving them the ability to be a citizen. But again, this whole thing, like, I think people are being too optimistic. And sadly, like, I love the executive orders. I think those are all correct actions to make. He's doing really good on the policy front. The numbers are not showing it yet. So I'm not personally super excited about it. I'm not going to be excited about it until we have just about every single illegal immigrant out of the country. And that's not something that is like some right-wing conspiracy. That's a common sense. If you care at all about your country, if you're a nationalist, I'm a nationalist. I care about America. Crazy thought, right? I care about America more than freaking Germany. Oh my gosh. I care about America more than Mexico. Mexicans care about Mexico more than America. Okay. So this whole thing about like, oh, well, you're like racist. It's like, no, like, think about all the enclaves and diasporas that these like Mexicans, Middle Easterners, all these immigrants create in their own communities, separate themselves out from the rest of society and just take in fucking tax money from me and you, because we're paying fucking tax dollars and they're not. And they're on fucking welfare. Okay. Yeah. I care about Americans. I care about America. I don't care about illegal immigrants.
Right. And I don't even think it requires a nationalist perspective to just see that it's more of a common sense thing. It's like, yeah, we don't want these people that don't pay taxes coming over here and receiving all of our benefits. I mean, it's as simple as that. We don't want them taking our jobs. We don't want them, fucking up the what we're getting paid from our jobs because they can get it cheaper from illegal immigrants. But I think it is more of a common sense thing. I think that's what's going to unite us in the long run, is because there are the people that look at people like me and Pete and might look at us and say, oh, well, we're, white nationalists just because
Shit, damn near.
we love the country, right?
Hey,
But
you might be right.
you are white and you are a nationalist. So,
I mean, you just put the words together, it's a conjunction.
real quick, though, just before we get too far away from this, you're concerned about the 500 people per day and you not having much hope that we're going to, those numbers are going to get high enough to get better. We have to keep in mind that in a lot of the country, especially the parts of the country that are housing a large number of these illegal immigrants, the sanctuary cities, those local governments have not been cooperative with Trump in getting these illegal immigrants out. They're actively, there's people like AOC that are actively posting stuff online like, oh, watch out for this because it might mean ISIS in the neighborhood, communicate on these networks so you can stay
away.
away.
Authority to arrest them.
Exactly, but they're not complying with executive order as of yet. They're just not cooperating.
That's the thing.
I do think eventually
they have the authority to arrest them. So
right.
My thing is, you get a little bit of pushback like that, I expect Homan to fucking arrest them.
Yeah, and I think it's a dangerous game though, because then that weeds right into the Democrats' hands, right? What was their whole thing going, leading up to the election? It's that Trump was going to prosecute his political enemies. So what's it going to look like if here we are a few weeks out of the election and he starts rounding up 30 different governors that aren't complying with the immigration, laws and just starts arresting all of them? I mean, it'll be chaos. It'll be worse than Black Lives Matter.
You're making a good point. You're making a good point. But the whole thing is, it'll only take one governor to get arrested for the rest to fall in line because they're pussies. They're not actually standing on some moral high ground. They're showboating. They're acting like they are. They're doing this whole play, this whole song and dance about how they care about illegals because their constituents are fucking half illegals. Right. You arrest the first one. You arrest Gretchen Whitmer, whoever, and then the rest will fucking fall in line. I expect Homan to do that. If he doesn't do that, then what are we? He's the guy. He is the guy that doesn't give a fuck. He'll be in interviews and they'll be like, isn't there a way to deport an illegal without separating them from their children? And he'll be like, yeah, they can get deported together. I expect him to act like that when a governor's like, I'm not going to follow an executive order.
I don't think Homan is the person that's holding up this process in any way. I do want to say, though, you said that, we'll just erase one. The arrest will, follow suit and get in line. It's like, we don't know how deep the bureaucracy flows in these people's bloods. They could all be tapped in like, hey, if he starts arresting us, we got to stand our ground. That could very easily be because it's all connected. All the Democrats, you just think about the times where it's like there's a news story and then all of a sudden every single news story, every single governor is saying the exact same line.
It's like a quote. It's literally the same quote.
These people talk, and if this is the game, if this is the play for us to make at this point is to arrest one, you better be rest assured they've talked about it with each other and they have a plan. And their plan might be like BLM, like it was back in 2020. Like it might be to cause.
That's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point. But should we care? Here's the whole thing. If they have some sort of some George Soros ass fucking plan to stage an uprising with the rest of the illegals that are in the country, or push over some Afghans from fucking the UK to get in here and girls like they did in the fucking UK. I think America's a little bit different than the rest of those countries. There's a reason why America is still marginally democratic compared to the rest of the West. It's turned into some fucking authoritarian dictatorship by the Middle East or Islam. And so I can see that being an issue, but my thing is I want action. I want results. I don't care about talk. I want to see stuff happen. I want to see the results. And if Obama can do it, again, he was benefited by the bureaucracy and the deep state. But Trump beat the deep state in 2015. Yeah. So why can't he do the same thing?
I stand with you in the sense that if it came to that, where we have to just start arresting these governors and local officials to get the job done, they're, telling their city to police to, stand at the gates, hold the line, don't let the fucking military in. At that point, it's like even the media would have to be on our side. Like, hey, this is out of control. These people need to listen to federal law. I just hope that it won't have to come to something like that. That is kind of the nuclear option whenever we think about it. That's something that's going to divide 50-50. Half the country is going to be on these illegal sides. I mean, you listen to Selena Gomez crying about her
She used
cousins
to be
and
my girl, man. Oh,
bro, she used to be my girl, dog. Get it right.
no,
Oh
she
my
likes me.
gosh. But that's just one celebrity. Once all the celebrities that get on board, all the celebrities that were calling Trump Hitler and everything, if they start
But wait,
putting Chris Evans, Captain America, on ground zero where they're arresting illegals, and he's out there crying. He's trying to stop them, fucking Captain America. It's like all these these people are idiots. They're gonna fall for it. It's gonna divide half the country, right? And the only thing to do if we reach a lockstep like that, I mean, I guess theoretically we could wait it out until a new president comes in. I mean, it'll be a stalemate for a while, but it really is it's a whole new civil war.
Selena Gomez, an American whose mom is a white American, whose dad was a Mexican American who left her family when she was a child, is standing and saying, my people are being discriminated against, are being deported, are being abused.
Right.
Her people. Wait a second.
In their
I
heart,
thought
they
she
feel
was
like
an
they're
American
Mexican.
citizen. No, wait, I got a point here.
Yeah.
Okay. She is declaring herself a Mexican, not an American. So, what's this whole deal with every single fucking ethnic group that's in America having solidarity within their own little ethnic group, but not white Americans
Right.
that were here for the longest that developed the society that we live in?
Well, it also gets complicated. Like, I feel like a large reason that has probably arisen to the extent that it is. I mean, people holding their different countries' flags as they're marching into America to try to get into America. It's like, why the fuck are you holding your home country's flag trying to get in here? It's like, just go back to your own country if you fucking love it so much. But the thing is, once people are here, we have obviously a very diverse population in the United States. It's also determined a lot by ethnicity other than nationality, right? So it's like, if you're a white guy who's originally from Ireland, okay, you might get to the United States, now you're a United States citizen, but you're still going to say you're Irish. And it's not because, oh, well, you love Ireland so much, and maybe you do find some things about their culture fascinating, which I'm sure is the case with all these different ethnic groups, but it's like, that's your actual ethnicity is Irish or
Maybe there's like
Italian.
maybe there's like a level
Chinese.
of like generations, like you have to get past a certain number of generations before you identify as like an American. But just as an example, I'm like Irish, English, British. I don't say, oh, I'm Irish. I'm American.
But if you were 80% Irish and you knew multiple, like, kind
I'm
of
like
ethnically
50%
Irish people in
Irish,
your
Scottish,
family,
50% British or whatever, English.
yeah,
Okay.
bro, most of us are mutts of white. I mean, to be honest,
Right.
that's why most
So
white
what
people
are we
don't
going to
care.
say? So what's the whole difference then? Just because is it because they've only been here for one generation? It's like, okay, so they're still kind of Mexican because they've only been here for one set of children.
It just goes into how does their family operate? What are their traditions? What are the way that the people in your family talk? Do you have somebody in your family that has like an Italian accent and you're like 80% Italian? So whenever people ask you, you're like, oh, I'm Italian, even though
Right. But if you're in
that goes for
America,
all different races and ethnic groups. I mean,
right. But you're in America, you should assimilate. How many Italian Americans? Think about like the first person I thought of, sorry, is like Michael Knowles, for example. He doesn't sound like your stereotypical Italian American.
Is he Italian? I didn't even know he was Italian, to be honest.
Oh, he definitely is. He talked about it. But that's my whole point is like, it's not like, if you're Italian American, you're going to sound like some dude from New Jersey or some shit. Like, so what's the deal with like, Mexican Americans that have been here for 3 generations still
Right.
fucking sounding like Mexicans and identifying as Mexicans? You either assimilate or get the fuck out. That's not what this is about. Melting Pot was developed by a Jewish communist. That whole term was developed by a Jewish communist. Okay.
For these people that have different cultures, right? They need to dissolve their cultures eventually and assimilate to an American Western philosophy styled culture.
Why do you want to be in America?
Is kind of the point. I mean, obviously, the reason most people want to, become an American and move here and get U.S. citizenship, and this isn't even debatable. I don't think it's not because they want to be just like Americans and have American values. It's just because of the economic stability the
Right.
safety,
So they shouldn't
all
be
those
here. So they
those
shouldn't be here.
those are the people. Those are that's why people would want to come to the United States. And it's like, okay, why don't we? Because like, there's people that go to Italy because they want to be a part of the Italian culture. There's people that move to England because they want to be a part of this like English culture, right? Like to some extent, there's people that move across, to different parts of the world just to try to be like kind of part of what they got going on, right? So what you're saying essentially is like, okay, if people are going to come over here, they need to try to be on what we're on. You know what I'm saying? Like, the question is then is why isn't that the case? Why don't people look at the American way of life as like a way that worth emulating? And it might be possibly because, especially nowadays, we're
You're gonna make
obese.
the Vivek
We're
point, dude. You're
we're
gonna make the
obese.
Vivek
I know,
Ramaswamy
I
point.
know. We're obese. The family's falling apart. We have terrible test scores in schools. I mean, it's like that. But listen. That would be the reason that people don't look at American traditional values as something to emulate, right? But that's something that has to be cleaned up on a broad scale over time. And what has benefited the United States, to go further on this Vivek point, in the past is that we've had different cultures like Indians that valued uh, that valued education, all right, and things of that nature. To like, that's just broadly across their culture, right? And and we all these different cultures that we've had in the United
You guys
States
hear him,
have
right?
all
You guys hear this
coalesced.
shit, right?
All listen, but we've always been no, we haven't always been a mixing pot, but since the industrial age, we've been a mixing pot. And we've had, if you just look up American scientists, all right, they're all different ethnic groups, all these different cultures that coalesce in this giant land
The ones after
have
World War
helped
II were
form.
German and like Western Europeans.
Did you know that Hitler didn't try to invent the atomic bomb or practice quantum mechanics because he thought it was Jew science? He said,
That's
no, that's
hilarious.
Jew science. He said,
Dude.
look at these Jews. They're so cheap. They're trying to split an atom. The smallest particle
Pretty
in the
good.
universe, and they're trying to split
They
it.
want more of that. But all right, we'll follow up on a part two later. That's just general thoughts on the immigration issue. Pete and Carson, peacing out.